Africa was once the cradle of humankind, but is now the world's poorest continent. Many of Africa's 1.3 billion people are still ruled by kings and queens the rest of the world knows little about. Some live in palaces surrounded by wealth and luxury, while others are poverty-stricken and inhabit mud huts. Yet all of them are influential leaders in African society. Alfred Weidinger is an Austrian photographer, art historian, and museum director who intends to create a comprehensive record of the lives and leadership of the African monarchs. For 5 years, Alfred Weidinger has created portraits of Africa's kings and chieftains, rulers on the boundary between traditional and modern life. Our journey takes us to the Dogon people of Mali and their leaders, the so-called Hogans. The Hogans were once the spiritual guides in the village communities, but their power is receding with the rise of Islam.
In 50 years, it will all be over. There'll be none of us left.
In Niger, nomad tribes and their nobles have congregated for centuries to celebrate the end of the rainy season over the course of 3 days. Mali. We begin our search for the last kings of the African continent in Bamako, the country's capital. Mali was once a rich country, but armed conflict and Islamic terror attacks have caused significant damage to the country. Despite the turmoil, it is said that Mali is still home to the secret kings of the village communities, the so-called Hogans. We plan to meet Malick Sidibé, an internationally renowned photographer. We hope that he will be able to show us where to find the Hogans. However, we are met by his son at his studio.
Merci.
So this is his camera collection.
Would you like to see one?
Okay.
So this is Malick Sidibé's studio.
Yes, this is his studio. Would you like to see some of his work?
Yes, please.
These are some of his negatives.
Oh, c'est beau.
Avec le changement climatique.
Magnifique.
Malick Sidibé is one of Africa's most important contemporary photographers and a master of portrait photography. He has been awarded the Golden Lion Award for Lifetime Achievement at Venice's Biennale Festival.
A photo has to touch your soul. I find that black and white film is the best medium for this. In my opinion, it reveals things that would get lost in color. That's how I hope to capture Africa's most important monarchs.
Oh, okay, c'est bon. C'est bon.
Le noir et blanc.
We are invited to visit Malick Sidibé at home. 5 years ago, a serious illness forced him to give up photography.
Oh, this is difficult, yeah.
What is great today, we are here and you too.
Yes.
You see,
Yeah.
it's interest.
Yeah.
You know.
Merci. Merci.
Thanks.
Malick Sidibé has cancer. As we take our leave, it is clear that we are saying farewell to a dying man. His son suggests that we travel to northeastern Mali. He believes that we will find the last of the Hogans there. Shortly after we begin our journey, we receive word that we were the last visitors the world-renowned photographer received. He has died. Our travels to northeastern Mali take us through dangerous territory. Islamic terrorist attacks are common here. Our destination lies at the foot of the cliffs of Bandiagara, on the edge of the Sahel zone. The region is home to the Dogon people. It is said that they were once the servants of Mali's king. 800 years ago, they fled from the west in order to be free. The Dogon ethnic group now has a population of approximately 300,000. The people live in villages of up to 500 inhabitants.
Allô, comment va?
Comment allez-vous?
How are you?
Et ce voyage?
Good, thank you. How was your journey?
Merci, merci.
Où est une place?
I'm looking for a village with a Hogan. Is there one near here?
Hogan. Et ici? Et aussi un village de Logan?
Several Hogans still live along the escarpment.
We discover that very few Hogans are left in the Dogon region. Ende, Nombori, Sanga, Ibi, Aru, and Yenduma. There are just a few villages left in which they can be found. We decide to try our luck in Yenduma. The village is about an hour's walk from our present location, at the northern end of the escarpment. The characteristic Dogon earth huts are several centuries old. They are nestled on small rock terraces and have been named UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Over thousands of years, rain has carved deep gorges into the rock. These serve to protect the Dogon people from slave traders and other enemies. Many of the old settlements are now abandoned, and the ancient clay huts stand as monuments to the past. The Hogans traditionally live secluded lives some distance from their villages. They are spiritual leaders, shamans, soothsayers, and judges. The council of the village elders determines who will become a Hogan. The position is granted for life. We encounter a guard who greets us in the old traditional way.
Is this the Hogan's palace?
Yes, this is the Hogan's house.
Is it possible to visit the Hogan?
No, that is impossible.
Why?
Because the Hogan has died.
He's dead.
Yes. One may not enter the house because a new Hogan has not been named yet. It is hard to find a Hogan because of the increasing influence of Islam. It takes time to find one.
Is this a Muslim village?
Yes, most of the inhabitants have converted to Islam.
Life in the earthen huts in the cliffs is difficult. Daily supplies like water and firewood have to be carried up to the village. In the last 40 years, more and more Dogon have left their traditional homes for an easier life on the Seno-Gondo plains. Dogon culture is changing dramatically. Many still practice the traditional religion, honoring the god Amma, who is said to have created the world. However, their faith is slowly being replaced by Islam, a religion considered more modern and attractive by younger generations. Our search for a Hogan takes us to the village of Ende, where we meet one of the 8 village elders. He confirms that there is a Hogan in the village, but we have to ask for an audience. If the Hogan agrees to receive us, it is customary to bring a gift. At the village market, we are told that kola nuts would be a suitable offering. The market offers everything from food such as corn on the cob to trousers, t-shirts, and magic potions. The village suffers a constant water shortage. Global warming is having a dramatic impact in areas which have always had to deal with high temperatures. The well has not yet run dry, but water levels are dangerously low, despite the recent rains. Soon, the people will have to dig a new well. While we wait for an answer from the Hogan, Alfred Weidinger takes some portrait photos.
The people have fantastic faces. Their entire lives are visible in their eyes. I wonder what I will see in the Hogan's eyes, if he allows me to take his photo.
Word has got around that we are hoping to be granted an audience with the Hogan. The whole village has heard about the white visitors. A sculptor approaches us. He is responsible for carving the figures used in Dogon rituals and wants to show us what he is working on. These Dogon cult items are known as fetishes and are said to protect people from bad luck. The sculptor is currently carving a very special fetish. It is for the royal family.
It is the Hogan's family. They are nobles and know a lot about Dogon culture. The Hogan passes the history on. As we have no written records, we prefer to carve our stories. To us, sculptures are written records.
Comme il n'y a pas l'écrit sur le Dogon, donc ils préfèrent sculpter l'écrit en sculpture.
As night falls, we're still waiting to discover whether we'll be permitted to meet the Hogan.
The people here are friendly, but I can sense distrust because I'm white. This is hardly surprising given the continent's history. I'm frustrated because I have not yet been able to photograph a Hogan.
The next morning, the people of Ende are woken by the village crier. He brings good news. We have been invited to ascend to the Hogan's palace. This palace is a little closer to the village than the one in Yenduma, but the Hogan here still lives a solitary, lonely life. From a distance, we can hear the Hogan welcoming us. The fact that we are being received by the spiritual leader is a great honor, and we don't want to do anything wrong.
You have sometimes you have a coronet for the marriage, for the funeral, for the ceremony. You have a coronet
For special occasions?
Yes.
I see. This is the reason why we brought them the colonnades to the Hogan.
Yes, to the Hogan.
The Hogan is very important. The Hogan has great knowledge. According to tradition, the Hogan is a king. It is forbidden to touch him.
That moment just before the first picture, that brief, exciting instant before the shutter is released.
Wow.
And then you possess a moment of time, frozen forever.
Alfred Weidinger has taken his first portrait of a Hogan. We depart for the village of Eie, 80 kilometers away. People say that there is a Hogan there. The dramatic changes we witnessed around the well in Endi are also visible in the villages along the sandy roads. In the last 50 years, the climate in the Sahel zone has changed significantly. There is almost constant drought, and the farmers are fighting for survival. Many people, especially the young, leave the villages for the cities, where they hope to make better lives for themselves. Sand is encroaching on the formerly green Dogon fields. Herds of animals add to the damage, eating whatever vegetation survives in the desert. After 6 hours of driving in the baking heat, we finally reached the Hogan's Palace in Eie. It is home to Yanigo Kodio, who is almost 90. Once again, we have to request an audience. This time, it looks like we may be unsuccessful. Initially, the Hogan is wary of having his portrait taken. Finally, our guide is able to convince him to participate.
I used to live on the plains. I was a Muslim. I came here 20 years ago. In 50 years, it'll all be over. There'll be none of us left.
Only men may assume the role of Hogan. As the Hogans may not be touched, they live a life of celibacy. We then visit a nearby fabric workshop. In the past, entire families worked at producing the traditional Dogon clothing. Now, frequently, it is only the older generations. Women are responsible for producing the yarn, and the men perform the weaving. Younger people prefer to buy used clothing from Europe and the USA, or cheap textiles from China. The international competition endangers the livelihoods of the African textile producers and garment makers. Traditional Dogon clothing is becoming increasingly rare. One notable characteristic of the traditional Dogon robes is their deep blue indigo color. Women dye the fabrics and girls make the patterns, but the craft is becoming a thing of the past.
You go. Hey, you go.
In Dogon culture, everything is considered significant and everything has a soul. This animism is the foundation of their faith and teaches them to treat their surroundings with respect. Everything and everybody is connected. A small disruption in the natural order can result in disaster. The Hogans are responsible for maintaining the balance. However, their importance in the villages is dwindling. The village of Nombore lies near Ibi and is home to Onsa Gwindo, one of the oldest practicing animists.
When the Hogan, the father, dies, there will not be a successor.
Why he haven't?
If my family wants to remain in the village, it will have to convert to Islam. Everybody in the village will become Muslim.
Once again, we hear how Islam is replacing the traditional local faith. There is clearly a strategy at work. Islam is being promoted more here than in other West African regions. According to the inhabitants, the religion's spread is being financed by Kuwait. A conservative strain of Islam is being established in these remote regions. The rules are strict and punishments are draconic. It will not be long before Dogon culture and the Hogans vanish entirely, because this form of Islam not only disdains other faiths, but actively combats them. We leave the world of the Dogon to visit the leaders in Niger, where Islam has a long tradition and where it is said that the religion has merged with the traditional beliefs. The town of Dosso. 90,000 people live here. Almost half the population is under 15 years of age. Arab merchants enjoyed a positive reputation throughout the Sahel zone. They settled along the trade routes long before the first Islamic sultanates were established and led independent lives among the West African kingdoms. For centuries, Islam was considered the religion of merchants. Now, everything has changed. Most of the inhabitants are Muslim. Their traditional rulers are sultans. One of the most important is the Sultan of Dosso. The sultans have a similar function to the Hogans, but the moral foundation is based on the principles of the Quran. The sword to defend and spread the faith is part of the religion, even if one chooses not to pick it up.
C'est magnifique, hein? C'est joli.
Le chef de canton assure le règlement des litiges dans le cadre de la
The head of a canton deals with disputes and everyday social problems.
au niveau rural, au niveau de la population en bas. Les problèmes de mariage.
We deal with marriage problems and other common conflicts. This is our responsibility.
Entre la population et le chef, il y a le chef de
We talk to the families, the village elders, the mayors, and so on.
Sa fonction
We deal with fundamental problems in society.
à la base.
The Sultan provides us with a letter of recommendation. This valuable document may provide access to other rulers. Our travels take us along an old caravan route, which was used to transport gold, ivory, exotic animals, salt, and slaves. These were the most important goods traded between Northern Africa and the Sahel zone. Islam also spread along the old trade routes, as a common belief system made conducting business easier. It is midday, and our driver suggests that we have lunch with a local farmer who is said to have ties to a renowned animist queen and who may be able to arrange a meeting. Lunch consists of millet. These grasses form the staple diet in the Sahel zone and are used to produce stews, soups, and flatbreads. The grain is used for subsistence rather than trade. A family will spend 4 months of the year planting and harvesting the millet crops. Roasted millet tastes a little like nuts, but it is a meager meal for spoiled Europeans. We asked the farmers about the animist queen. Her name is Aljima Gado, but she is also known by her title, Saraunia. It soon becomes clear that she is an important monarch, perhaps the region's most influential. It will not be easy to meet her. At first, we're not permitted to travel further.
This is the chief. He decides whether one may visit the Saraunia.
Oui. À tes potes? Oui. Et combien?
Otherwise, we will be unable to go on.
Vous allez voir, vous allez filmer.
Ah oui, oui, oui.
Oui, après.
The stone will tell us something.
Arrivé.
Then we can continue our journey.
Saluer la pierre.
The spirits are said to communicate through a stone, determining whether conditions for a visit are favorable. Soothsaying is an important element of everyday life in many natural religions. The soothsayer draws his questions in the sand and studies the movement of the stone while he casts spells. spirits are on our side, and we are allowed to pass, but we must be careful. We encounter another obstacle on our journey to visit Queen Algimagado. Once again, our car gets stuck in the rough terrain. We finally reach the village of Legu, where the Saraunia lives. The villagers come from all around to see us. We are the main attraction.
We're now in the village of Lugu.
Village Lugu.
Oui.
Et ça,
This is the Saraunia's house?
la casa de
la reine Sarauni.
Yes, this is the Queen's house.
How many animists live here?
Ah, là, on ne peut pas
It's impossible to say exactly.
patronne.
Ah ouais?
Oui. De tous les animaux.
She is the head of all the animists.
Pas de doute sur mon nom. Ah oui. Parce que dès qu'on dit Sarauni,
She is the Queen.
ça veut dire c'est un titre. Donc la reine. Donc il n'y a pas quelqu'un
There is nobody above her.
au-dessus de la reine. Sauf en dessous.
There are many below her,
Donc elle
but she is at the top.
au dernier sommet quoi.
Ah ouais. Et la culture.
Is this an old culture?
Oui, ça date de longtemps,
The culture has been around for a long, long time.
de très longtemps.
The inhabitants of Lugu are part of the Asna ethnic group. In ancient legends, they are described as spiritual leaders and have been the protectors of the religion's secrets for eons.
Pour les touristes et
Can tourists visit the Queen?
la reine.
Yes, that is possible. But unfortunately, no photos are allowed.
The ban on photography is a disaster for Alfred Weidinger. He wants to enter the hut and convince the Council of Elders to reconsider.
Sarkin da sun ka dauka. Wata mai ita na sabo shekara. Za su dawowa da wannan hotunan.
Merci. C'est bon, monsieur? Ah, merci.
I respect your culture.
Okay, I understand.
Comme ça, c'est bon.
The photographer explains his mission to the village elders. He hopes to preserve at least part of this ancient culture in his pictures. Eventually, a compromise is reached. Alfred Weidinger will be permitted to photograph the Saraunia Arjimagada, but her face may not be visible. Even her subjects are not permitted to see her face. She only leaves the hut twice a week for a brief period, wearing a veil. She spends the rest of her life behind a curtain.
This queen has never been photographed. Am I perhaps crossing a line by preserving the untouchable on film forever?
We leave Lugu and head for Tenere, the desert of deserts.
Et tu connais les Ténéré ici?
Ténéré là, moi je...
Ténéré ici?
Oui, ici là c'est Ténéré.
Les arbres du Ténéré, par
oui,
exemple.
arbres de Ténéré, je connais ça mais depuis un peu à 80.
On the other side of the desert, a spectacular event. The Cour Saleh is due to take place in a few days. The journey there is somewhat dangerous. Once again, we are crossing territory that has been subjected to recent Islamic terrorist attacks. The Tenere Desert is home to the Tuareg, Tubu, Songhai, and Wadabe people, who roam the vast expanse with their herds of cattle. We meet many nomads who are also on the way to the celebrations. Every year they congregate in the desert to talk about their experiences and plans for the future. Thousands of people meet here for 3 days to celebrate the end of the rainy season. The Caravans ritual, during which prospective Wadabe spouses present themselves, is the highlight of the event. Here, it is the men who dress to impress. Every man hopes to prove he is better than the others, and the women get to choose the man who makes the best impression. In the Wadabe culture, both men and women wear makeup and jewelry. The men wear necklaces of cowrie shells and paint their faces. They try out turbans, hats, and other headdresses. It is about more than outward appearances. During the celebrations, the men have to prove their abilities as riders, craftsmen, and artists. The Caravans ceremony begins in the afternoon. First, the men have to prove their skills as dancers, singers, and musicians. Particular attention is paid to facial expressions and eyes. The Wadabe believe the eyes are the source of love. Even, narrow faces, tall, athletic physiques, and white teeth are all considered important physical attributes. The men sing about the charm of women until they fall into a trance. The women evaluate the men's abilities. In the course of the evening, they will choose a prospective partner. The connections that are made here may lead to marriage or to nothing. Word has got around that a European camera team has arrived to create portraits of the kings of the Sahel zone. One of the most powerful chieftains invites us to join him.
This is the Cour Saleh, the largest of the Tuareg celebrations. Members of all clans and communities meet here, as do all the herdsmen. The Wadabe, Tuareg, Pearl, and Arabs. This is the only time when all the nomads meet in groups. The government welcomes the opportunity to discuss with them and introduce their policies. There are no geographic borders for nomads. The borders only exist in the minds of countries. Only countries have borders. Nomads know no borders and no countries. For them, any place they have pastures and can live in peace and freedom is a country. They travel to Mali without a passport or a visa. They go to Algeria, to Nigeria and Libya. There are no borders for nomads.
n'y a pas de limite.
A sandstorm comes up, and the Coeur-Salé drums fall silent. The people wait patiently for the winds to drop and the evening sun to appear again. Within an hour, the crowds return and the festivities continue.
The young men dance and dance for 3 days without a break. There is almost no rest, 24 hours of music, 24 hours of dancing. 24 hours of euphoria.
The festival will reach its peak the following day, when the women determine the most attractive man. Unfortunately, we have to leave. The Hogan of Eie, the first Hogan we met, has died. His position is now vacant. We cannot miss the opportunity to witness the crowning of the new Hogan. If one is chosen, it may be the last opportunity to observe such a ritual. We return to Mali from Niger. Time is of the essence. We have received word that a new Hogan is to be crowned in 2 days. Our guide points out a crocodile on the banks of a river. Crocodiles are sacred and are considered a good omen by the Dogon people. According to legend, the animal led the Dogon to water and prevented them from dying of thirst during their long mythical journey across Africa. The villages near Eie are deserted. We soon realize why. Preparations for a large celebration are in full swing. The locals inform us that there have been discussions about whether to continue the old traditions. The Muslims are against it. However, the decision is made to choose a new Hogan. The celebrations must be worthy of the Hogan's position, and the last remaining supplies are used up. Animals are slaughtered. Nothing is wasted in the inhospitable desert climate. The men congregate for the warriors' parade and prepare their weapons. Guests from the surrounding villages arrive to pay their respects. A large procession of men moves through the village. They pretend to fire shots with their old rifles and engage in simulated battles. The high point arrives, and the masks are awoken with a call. The dances of those wearing the masks and the reverence of the bystanders fill the masks with the potent life force known as Nyama. It is the strength of the dead that is released and transferred to the living, allowing the spirits to leave this world and pass into the next. Those who have done good during their lives enter the paradise of their ancestors. The procession collects the chosen man from his house, which will now become vacant. Shots ring out, announcing the coronation of the new Hogan. The masked men and the warriors lead the Hogan to the palace along the escarpment. He is led to the throne. The ritual ends with a proclamation by the village elders. From this point on, the Hogan is untouchable.
I take the first photo of the new spiritual leader. And I can't escape the feeling that I have just captured the image of Nde's last Hogan.
Africa was once the cradle of humankind, but is now the world's poorest continent. Many of Africa's 1.3 billion people are still ruled by kings and queens the rest of the world knows little about. Some live in palaces surrounded by wealth and luxury, while others are poverty-stricken and inhabit mud huts. Yet all of them are influential leaders in African society. Alfred Weidinger is an Austrian photographer, art historian, and museum director who intends to create a comprehensive record of the lives and leadership of the African monarchs. For 5 years, Alfred Weidinger has created portraits of Africa's kings and chieftains, rulers on the boundary between traditional and modern life. Our journey to Africa's monarchs takes us to Ghana and to the mythical Ashanti kingdom. The Ashanti were forced to abandon their palaces during the colonial era, but their kings remain to this day.
We have been very careful not to lose our tradition and our culture, because the people with that culture cease to be people.
In Sierra Leone, we attempt to find one of Africa's most important royal symbols, the legendary crown of Madam Woki Massaquoi, which has been missing for more than 25 years. The West African coast. This region was once home to important empires like Ghana, Mali, or Songhai. Europeans discovered the riches of West Africa in the 15th century, and a race broke out among the seafaring nations. Every country wanted to be the first to settle the land along the coasts. Fortresses were built, trading posts were established, and relationships with the local inhabitants were developed. There was one overriding economic principle: trade. Gold, ores, ivory and spices were bought and sold. as were people. Africans were both victims and perpetrators of the slave trade. African rulers fought wars in order to capture prisoners and force them into slavery. It was a lucrative business. The Europeans created the demand and were willing consumers. The French, the British, the Germans, the Portuguese, the Dutch, the Spanish, they all carried goods, weapons, and alcohol to the West African coast and exchanged them for new slaves. The people were sold into slavery in Brazil, the Caribbean, and the southern states of the USA, if they survived the journey by sea. Ghana, in West Africa. This was once the realm of the legendary Ashanti kingdom. The Ashanti were one of the few African societies who successfully resisted the European invaders for a long time. They finally surrendered to the British at the end of the 19th century. In 1957, Ghana became one of the first African countries to regain its independence. Our journey to rediscover the old Ashanti culture and the traces of colonial rule begins in Ghana's capital city, Accra.
I have discovered that a Ghanaian painter, Godfrey Donkor, produces large historical paintings. He is also an Ashanti.
Are you Godfrey?
Yes. How are you? Pleased to meet you.
Nice
Lovely
to meet you. This is amazing, huh?
Thank
How
you.
many meters is this?
It's, I think it's about 11, I think. It's panels, it's 9 panels.
Yeah.
8 foot by 4 foot, so altogether about 11 meters altogether.
And it's amazing.
Well, yeah, this is an interesting story. It's from a book by an English explorer called Thomas Bowditch.
Yeah.
He came to this region in 1817, and he walked from Cape Coast to Ashanti. And to deal with the Ashanti. He was a diplomat as well for the British government.
Yeah.
But this is the first European to paint a scene of the Ashantis. The English are here. There's the English look.
Yeah.
And then the English flag is here, the Dutch flag is here, the Danish flag is here. So which tells us that in 1817, the Ashantis were trading with the Dutch, the Danish, and the English. And we also never had any pictures of the Ashantis until this.
Wow.
And then photography obviously came, and then there was pictures.
Because I'm a Klimt specialist, and there were a group of Ashanti. They came to Vienna. There were a group of 100, and the leader was a prince. And those are photographs of the Ashanti from 1897. And this is the this is the prince. Can you imagine? This is the whole group.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
So that's the prince.
Yeah, that's the
here.
prince.
I've never seen it before. Incredible.
And Gustav Klimt did a portrait of the prince. And this is the painting.
Wow.
Gustav Klimt.
This is Klimt?
This is Klimt.
I've
And
never
this was a friend of Klimt. He did
Who
also
did
a
the same?
portrait from the other side.
My God, I've never seen this. That's amazing. That's beautiful, isn't it? Klimt.
Yes.
But that means they actually met.
Yes.
Yes, so he sat for the Gustav Klimt, no?
Yes.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
The Ashanti kings remain an important part of Ghanaian society. But the country is a democracy, and the monarchs have no political function. However, the highly educated leaders do have authority and are responsible for preserving the country's culture. We are waiting to be received by King Nene Sekita II. Various Christian confessions, Islam, and traditional faiths all coexist peacefully in his kingdom in southeast Ghana, as they do elsewhere in the country. The Ashanti kingdom existed for more than 200 years, from 1695 until 1896. Now, they are merely one ethnic group among many in Ghana.
Is this okay?
What shall I say?
Their palaces were destroyed or repurposed. Yet they still have their kings.
Yeah, he took the picture with them.
And your uncle is right here, with the ground.
Yeah, this is my uncle.
But there are very few from Ghana, I see, no?
I know. In 1948, he was at the African Conference, invited by George VI to the African Conference. This is how important this kingdom is. They weren't even thinking about independence. They were thinking about how can we improve the relationship between Africa and Europe.
Okay.
Then later on, the fight for independence came in.
The European retreat from Africa had less to do with ideology than with economy. The colonial powers could simply no longer afford the colonies. During the transfer of power, the Europeans attempted to exert influence over the creation of the new national governments. While they did want a democratic Africa, they were not prepared to give up all of their power.
Colonialization hurt us in so many ways. Before the Europeans came, we only have kings and queens. That's how we address them. Look, before colonization, we had all our institutions intact. We had our judicial system, we had our educational system, we had our health care system, we had our women and girl-child departments. We had all this before the Europeans arrived. They tried to dismantle the system that we had and impose their system on us. This is how we were before they took it away from us. And people trying to copy the European system did it badly. What I'm saying is, there is no reason why we cannot develop. Africa can develop. We have so many resources. The only reason why we are not developed is because we are not following the rules of our culture. We used to be hardworking.
Ghana was renowned for its gold, and still is today. The riches attracted the European naval powers, and the typical colonial cycle of dependence began. The British, the Dutch, and for a brief period the Germans all supplied guns and ammunition in return for Ashanti gold. Armed with European weapons, the Ashanti became far more powerful than their neighbors. They fought wars in the region and forced the prisoners they took to work in the mines. The gold mined by the prisoners was then used to purchase more weapons from the Europeans. We traveled to the town of Bompata. Here we meet Nana Efa Apenteng, a former Ghanaian UN diplomat. Among Bompata's inhabitants, he is known as a so-called paramount chief. He is an important local leader in the Ashanti hierarchy.
You know, before the British came to Ghana or the Gold Coast, Ashanti was an empire. So we, and if you are keeping an empire, you have to be organized to be able to keep discipline and the system going. If you look at the policies of the metropolitan powers, the colonial powers, each had a different thing. The French one was assimilation. The assimilation, they turn you as an African into a Frenchman. That was their policy. The British accepted your culture and they tried to use your traditional structure to serve their own interests. So they had indirect rule. Okay, so as much as they took over the country, they did not actually succeed in undermining our traditional structure as such. Our traditional structure is resilient, so that's why we still have it. That's why we still have the Ashanti in there. And we have been very careful not to lose our tradition and our culture, because the people with that culture cease to be people.
More than 400 years ago, a priest known as Akomfo Anokye claimed that the god Nyama had given him the task of making the Ashanti a strong, powerful people. One of the strongest clan leaders, Osei Tutu, therefore called a meeting of important dignitaries. According to the legend, the priest then brought down a golden throne from the heavens, witnessed by the Ashanti leaders. The throne was declared sacred, as it contains the soul of the entire Ashanti people. Osei Tutu was named the first king of the Ashanti people, the so-called Asante Haine. We pay a visit to the palace of the present-day Asante Haine and are permitted to observe a very special ceremony honoring the King of Kings. The drummers announce the impending arrival of the ruler. In the past, they spread the king's word across the Ashanti kingdom, ensuring its cohesiveness. The Asante Haine, Otumfuo Nana Osei Tutu II. The king's power derives from the fact that he is a direct descendant of the original king who founded the Ashanti kingdom. He is the 16th Asante Haine to lead the Ashanti people, who continue to have a significant impact on Ghanaian culture and regularly declare their loyalty to their king. Alfred Weidinger hopes to take a portrait photo of Otumfuo Tutu II. After several discussions, he is finally granted permission.
I wonder what power or influence these kings still have in modern democratic Ghana. Are they more than traditional dignitaries? A reminder of a former great civilization?
The power of the early Ashanti kings was based on more than Ghana's gold and wealth. They used European weapons to conquer new territories and capture Africa's most important resource: human beings. They were sold to the Europeans as slaves. This is conveniently forgotten when old Ashanti traditions are celebrated today. We leave Ghana and travel to Sierra Leone. The country's capital, Freetown. The name Freetown was chosen to mark the city's role as a place for Africans that had been sold into slavery to return to. It is now home to more than 1 million people. In 1808, Great Britain declared Sierra Leone a crown colony and assumed administrative powers over the coastal regions. Towards the end of the 19th century, facing competition from other European colonial powers, the British expanded their sphere of influence in Africa far into the continent. The country finally achieved independence in 1961. Sierra Leone is now a constitutional republic with an elected president, but administration at local level is still based on deep-rooted structures from the pre-colonial era. There are 190 so-called chiefdoms, small territories ruled by a paramount chief. The leader is elected and is responsible for overseeing jurisdiction and taxation. We hope to meet some of these local Sierra Leone kings and discover how they shaped the country's modern social and political structures. Our first stop is the Sierra Leone National Museum. Among the many historical artifacts are walking sticks with gold handles. Shortly after Queen Elizabeth II declared Sierra Leone's independence, these were distributed to the paramount chiefs as a symbol of royal power.
And then also in the southern part of Sierra Leone, they do allow female to stand as chieftaincy in terms of chief, yeah. Like we have Madame Teresa. She is Madame Teresa. She is from the southern part of Sierra Leone. And we have example of some of the chiefs. Like this chief is from the southern part of Sierra Leone, Kenema district.
With a crown,
yes,
with a golden crown.
That crown was given to one of the female chief and that he took over from.
Today, the Bullen boats of Freetown are riding out to give their welcome to the Royal Yacht Britannia. We are back where the drums beat and the tribes foregather with their rich-robed chiefs. At Durbar at Bo, the principal town of the interior. 1,000 people answered the call of the drums to join the processions and the wild, infectious dancing. The Queen's put on her tiara in case some here mayn't recognize a queen without a crown.
Madame Woki Massaquoi with her crown, a crown that is far larger than the Queen's. Her son, King Sylvester, inherited the crown from her. He died in 1990. The crown is the subject of many legends. It is said that it was first worn in 1810 by an African king known as Siaka. It then vanished, reappeared, and vanished again. The crown has now been missing for decades. We travel deep into Sierra Leone with a vague hope of discovering clues to the location of Madame Woki Massaquoi's legendary crown. Our first destination is Kabangbama village in the Moyamba district. Alfred Weidinger would like to take a picture of the local paramount chief. An old litter from the time of Queen Elizabeth II's visit is to be brought out for the photo. There are several female paramount chiefs in southwest Sierra Leone. Madame Hawa Kapang Boam III has ruled her chiefdom Imperi for 35 years.
Thank you, gentlemen.
She is allegedly a direct descendant of Imperi's founder, a warrior and elephant hunter who settled here more than 200 years ago. The neighboring chiefdom Kagboro is also ruled by a woman.
The police is coming, yes. Yes. Like this. Is this possible for you?
Yeah.
Very nice. You have very nice eyes. I like this very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's always important for a photographer, you know, to have the light in the eyes. So, and you are one of the very few female paramount chiefs in this country. I mean, even in West Africa.
Yes, yes. Fortunately, I'm from the section of the country where women can become paramount chiefs when they have the right. You have to be qualified. You have to be the daughter of a chief or the granddaughter of a chief or a relation, very close. And the East and the South do recognize female chieftaincy. It's the North and Kono that are still fighting to give that right.
In a village in Madame Hawa Kapang Boam III's chiefdom, we witness a ceremony performed by a secret society known as Poro. Only men may join the secret society, and the secret refers to the knowledge shared within the group rather than the membership itself.
I'm the owner of this level. I'm the owner of this level. I'm the owner. Yeah.
Members are often pressured into joining Poro, and it is impossible to leave. The men are determined to retain control over the society's mythical secret knowledge. The Poro society once made laws and decided over war and peace. The secret society can also declare absolutely anything taboo. During the colonial era in the early 1900s, Sierra Leone suffered serious supply shortages after grain was declared unacceptable. The British subsequently issued a decree forbidding taboos being placed on local foodstuffs. We leave southwestern Sierra Leone and continue our search for Madame Woki Masakoi's legendary crown. Prior to colonialism, crowns were rarely used as a symbol of power. However, local rulers, who had amassed riches due to the slave trade, were determined that they would enjoy the same trappings as European colonialists. They too wanted to be crowned with a valuable headdress made from gold, silver, and diamonds. On our journey into central Sierra Leone, we discover frequent reminders of the civil war that tore the country apart between 1991 and 2002. Bridges are yet to be rebuilt. There is no drinking water in some places, and many villages still don't have electricity. Sierra Leone is one of the world's poorest countries, and there is no money to rebuild infrastructure. This is despite the fact that Sierra Leone's soils contain unimaginable wealth that is the envy of the rest of the world. Diamonds.
But over 15 million pounds a year have been earned by mining diamonds in the Kenja River Valley since they were discovered 22 years ago in this alluvial mud. There it is, the one little stone that is worth all those hundreds of buckets of mud.
Various factions fought for power in Sierra Leone for more than 10 years. Above all, it was a war for control of the mines. To date, the full extent of the damage caused by the war remains unknown. It is estimated that hundreds of thousands may have died, while more than 2 million people were displaced.
The brutal war, it was actually worst for us, for we Israelis. The war lasted for almost 10 years, but it was not easy. It was not an easy task. Pregnant women were killed. Innocent people were murdered. And most of us ran away. But the government by then, under the leadership of President Kaba, fought the rebels, and automatically he succeeded. But we say thanks to God today now we have peace in Sierra Leone. And we are really enjoying the peace.
Henry Fangawa has been paramount chief for 46 years. His chiefdom was captured by rebels during the Civil War, and he was forced to flee to Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown. The reason his territory was so hotly contested is clear. Diamonds are mined here. It is very unusual that we're invited to visit one of Henry Fangawa's diamond mines. Many of the paramount chiefs we meet on our travels through Sierra Leone refuse to discuss their most valuable resource, let alone show us their mines. It is a difficult subject. The fight for ownership of the mines caused thousands of deaths, and working conditions remain harrowing. The trade with precious stones from Sierra Leone continues to flourish. Almost all of the diamonds are exported to foreign countries. The primary destination is Great Britain, the former colonial power.
Diamond is important for few people in my chiefdom because not everybody is doing this mining. We more rely on agriculture.
The other chiefdoms, they are more concentrated on diamond, I guess. Huh?
Well, most chiefdoms, they don't consider, but even if you are doing mining, you think of your stomach first. You think of agriculture. Well, agriculture is the first paramount one. Then later, the diamond will come in. But if you are hungry, I don't think you go and do mining. And today now, the question of mining in my own chiefdom costs a lot of money.
Sierra Leone's diamonds are renowned for their size, brightness, and purity. Above all, they are renowned for being blood diamonds. Profits from diamond sales were used to finance the brutal civil war Sierra Leone has still not recovered from. We continue to look for clues to the whereabouts of Madame Woki Massaquoi's crown, and we make our way southeast.
They are here.
We are told that the crown was last seen on the far side of the Yong River, which was an important trade route during the 18th and 19th centuries. This is the territory of the Mongareva Yong chiefdom.
During the rains, you will have...
Here we meet Paramount Chief Ali Badara Sheriff III.
On to where the vehicle is. Now we cross by boat to the other side of the river. I see.
He intends to show us the village where he was born.
Right.
And the people, they are living from fishing on the river?
And agriculture, mostly agriculture.
Agriculture?
Yeah, mostly. Although some people do fish, but then agriculture is their main activities.
Sheriff III is a Muslim and has been the paramount chief since 2002. His ancestors fought the British colonial forces here.
So this was what now they were using as gun to defend the kingdom. Formerly it was kingdom, but it was the British that changed it. Instead of king, they were kings in those days and not paramount chiefs. But because the British colonized us and they needed only one king, they changed the name from kingdom to chiefdom. And then those rulers, whom we call now paramount chiefs, were kings. So the British had not wanted that one, and so they completely changed those names. That is why today I'm a paramount chief, and my chiefdom is called chiefdom instead of kingdom. Or I'm not called a king. I should have been a king as well. So that's the idea.
Paramount chiefs are also responsible for the physical well-being of their subjects. Sheriff III proudly shows us the village's medical facility.
You have the consultation room, other rooms. We have 12 rooms here in all, and the quarter is behind for them to stay so that they will not strain. Yeah.
And those are the rooms?
Yes.
For the...
Yeah, maybe delivery.
Sick people?
Yeah, delivery room, yeah.
Delivery room.
Yeah.
After delivery, the mother can lie here for observation.
I see.
Wherever we could send her home.
So a good leader must be with his or her people. And you must not excel yourself. What I believe in, that leadership comes from God. Make your people feel good. They should not be afraid of you. But then there should be that friendly atmosphere among you all. And that is what I believe in.
All of Sierra Leone's paramount chiefs keep telling me about everything they do for their subjects. I'm sure that they do a lot for the health and education systems, but sometimes I get the feeling that they also do a lot to prevent the establishment of democratic structures. Then again, maybe these are simply the thoughts of a European who believes his system of values to be the right one. I don't know.
Once again, we are unable to discover anything about the location of Madame Woki Massaquoi's missing crown. We continue our journey on the Sewa River. An old legend says that people who travel along this route go blind, and that the river steals the power of sight. Sadly, there is an element of truth to the legend. These days, it is known that the blindness is caused by so-called black flies. When they sting humans, they inject tiny worm larvae under the skin. These larvae collect in the eyeball and cause blindness. The disease is known as onchocerciasis, or simply river blindness. The small town of Bompe represents our last chance to find out more about Madame Woki's crown. Bompe is the capital of the Bompe Gao chiefdom, which includes more than 200 villages. Allegedly, Madame Woki's native village is located somewhere near here.
But there was one Madame Woki?
Madame Woki, yes.
She was paramount chief, a
Yes.
female one in 1961.
Yeah.
Have you a memory on her?
No. But the paramount will know more. If you ask him, he will tell.
Who?
The paramount chief, yeah.
We'll know more.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Very nice. Thank you.
Although the experience of the last 3 weeks has taught me not to get my hopes up, I once again meet with the paramount chief. Perhaps I will finally learn something about the crown's location.
In the past, there was also a female paramount chief here in the region. It was Madame Woki.
Madame Woki Masakoe.
Yeah.
Galines. She was a paramount chief. And on her death, her son, Sylvester Bebe Masakoe, became paramount chief.
And because we also did search in archives and so on, and we saw one photograph where Madame Woki was in front of Queen Elizabeth. It was 1961.
Yeah, 61, when the Queen came to Sierra Leone.
Yes, with a crown.
Yes.
Where is this? And we also saw one photograph in the museum, in the National Museum, with Sylvester Masakoe, with the crown.
Yeah.
But where's the crown now?
They have the crown in Galines. They said the crown was given to them when it was not amalgamated, so it belongs to them. We just decided to say, okay, we can administrate, we can govern without a crown.
The small village of Galines. This is where Madame Woki's crown is said to be. The inhabitants of the village tell us that they do not fully acknowledge the paramount chief of Bompe as their leader. He is not from Galines, hence he cannot be their ruler. As far as they are concerned, the king or queen must be from their village, as they are the chosen royal lineage.
Hello. Hello, sir.
The woman yesterday who brought the picture, it is unfortunate that she's not around. There was a woman who brought up a picture,
Yes.
but I don't know how can I able to get her.
But he have a memory on the crown, because he was, I guess, the only one here in the village who had knowledge about his
You have you also.
He as well?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
When?
He saw Madame Woki with the crown.
I see.
Yeah.
Here in the village or in
In
Freetown?
this village.
I see.
I was staying here. The paramount chief was here.
I see.
This is the chief
Yes,
of
no,
headquarters.
no, I understand. Yeah. What would happen when someone came with some parts of the crowns to him?
Yes, it's jamais loin. Là, nous mouillons pour les gars, on le boit autant. Il y a pas de fille. He like even a single part of the crown. He'll be most It's symbolic. It is really, really symbolic.
Okay. So he thinks the crown is not existing anymore, but there's hope.
Since the crown is no longer existing, what is the hope? Is that what you're asking?
The hope? No, there's always hope in life.
Yeah, it is more ridiculous because we are no longer seeing the crown. We also want to make it an evidence because they used to tell us that there has been a very unique something in this land that they call the crown that is only made special for the only paramount chief. But unfortunately, it's just a history we are hearing. We've never seen it except by picture.
So now you have to wait. What's happened with the paramount chief in Perry?
To die.
Yes.
We are praying that he died
And
tomorrow.
And then there is an election?
Yeah, immediately if he dies today, probably the government will get us to 2 to 3 months and we have new election.
And they are able to participate?
Of course they are.
And you are able to participate?
Of course. You must be a resident and a citizen of Galines. You must come from a ruling house. You must be above 25 years of age.
Okay, all right.
Those are the basics you have to fulfill.
I understand. So he could be the paramount chief?
It's possible myself.
You are massacre as well?
Yes, I am also massacre.
They all are massacre here?
All of us are massacres.
Everyone?
Almost all.
Oh. Well, many paramount chiefs here.
For some reason, I don't trust them. The discussion with the people of Garines feels like a well-rehearsed performance, a little show for the Europeans.
The next day, an inhabitant of Galines comes to speak to us. He insists that we may not film or name him. He tells us that the crown has been hidden in a small hut near the village for more than 25 years. The village inhabitants have a plan. When the current paramount chief dies, he is to be replaced by someone from Galines. As far as the locals are concerned, the king must come from here. Only then will Madame Woki's legendary crown be revealed.
Finally, the crown really does exist. And I am able to take a photo of it. At the same time, I find the whole tale somewhat absurd. It's something of a joke. After all, there were no crowns made of precious metals in Africa before colonialism. This is a European symbol of power. And since colonialism, our European history has left its mark on, and above all in, African heads.
Africa was once the cradle of humankind, but is now the world's poorest continent. Many of Africa's 1.3 billion people are still ruled by kings and queens the rest of the world knows little about. Some live in palaces surrounded by wealth and luxury, while others are poverty-stricken and inhabit mud huts. Yet all of them are influential leaders in African society. Alfred Weidinger is an Austrian photographer, art historian, and museum director who intends to create a comprehensive record of the lives and leadership of the African monarchs. For 5 years, Alfred Weidinger has created portraits of Africa's kings and chieftains, rulers on the boundary between traditional and modern life. Our journey to Africa's kings and queens takes us to Uganda, where a new kingdom is to be established, and where the kingdoms that already exist are discovering a new lease of life.
So you'll see the King of Busoga, a very flexible young man. We hang out with him, he's on social media, he tweets, he has Instagram.
And in Swaziland, Africa's last absolute monarch celebrates his birthday by giving himself a very special gift. The Republic of Uganda. The landlocked country in East Africa is located on Lake Victoria, the source of the White Nile, and is home to 35 million people. The region once attracted fishing boats and merchant ships. Now it is a popular destination for visitors from all over the world. Kingdoms have existed in Uganda since the 11th century, and several still exist.
You see that point over there where the ridges stick out of the water? That is where the very first falls on River Nile were. They were the first rapids on the Nile.
Yeah.
Environmental conditions here allowed humans to settle and form large communities. The initial settlements and clans eventually gave way to kingdoms and monarchs. The White Nile is fed by Lake Victoria, Africa's largest lake. The Ugandan capital, Kampala, lies nearby. The city is the seat of Yoweri Museveni's government. Museveni has been president of Uganda for more than 30 years. Although Uganda is a republic, the country has a number of recognized kings who have some say over cultural developments in their regions. It takes time and extensive networking to achieve an audience with these rulers. The Kasumi tombs are located in a cemetery near Kampala. Here we meet Joseph Uma, a photographer like Alfred Weidinger.
You're a very famous photographer from Uganda. Can I see some photographs? You have something here?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
This is the one.
Oh, this is very nice.
This one, the present king.
Yes.
This who was colonized in.
This is the recent. This is the recent.
The recent king, 1993.
He's a very powerful king until now. Yeah.
When the British colonized Uganda in the 19th century, they used the local kings to cement their rule and eventually reduced the number of kings to 5. The kingdoms were located around Lake Victoria, while the dry north of the country was largely ignored.
Joseph mentioned to me that there is an attempt to establish a 6th kingdom in the far northeast. The Karamojong have laid claim to the territory. As yet, we do not know the state of negotiations, but I certainly do not want to miss this.
Our contacts attempt to establish a connection with Uganda's most important leaders. Meanwhile, we travel to the Karamojong region. Along the way, we gain a number of insights into modern Ugandan life. In recent years, there's been noticeable economic development, but past wars and humanitarian disasters have left their mark on the country. Independence from the British in 1962 was followed by a brief period of peace, but this ended just 9 years later. Idi Amin was a soldier and a showman who awarded himself honorary titles, even going so far as to call himself the conqueror of the British Empire. He launched a military coup in 1971, declaring himself president and assuming power over every aspect of Ugandan life. He established a regime of terror, brutally removing anyone he saw as a potential threat and ordering massacres. Although there are no official figures of how many people died, Amnesty International estimates that 500,000 may have lost their lives. Idi Amin's dictatorship was accepted internationally for as long as he remained pro-Western. The reign of terror was only condemned once he switched his allegiances to Libya and the Soviet Union. Two wars against neighboring Tanzania followed Idi Amin's seizure of power. In 1979, Tanzanian troops captured Kampala and ousted the Ugandan dictator. He died in exile in Saudi Arabia in 2003. Although Idi Amin's reign ended long ago, the scars of the period are still very evident in some parts of Uganda. The northeast of the country, where the Karamojong people live, is such a place. Until recently, the region was a lawless territory of armed militias and vigilante justice, a long-term consequence of the wars and Uganda's subsequent instability. Now, much has changed.
Three or 4 years ago, even in this village, and I saw many people with guns. But now this changed completely because there are no people with guns at the moment.
Around 5 years ago,
yeah,
when guns used to be there, even our town here, we used to have guns. People could die. You find even your fellow brother, when you disappoint him, he could kill you before the other districts come to raid you even. But just your brother here can kill you.
After Idi Amin was ousted, the Karamojong looted weapons from the military camps. Soon, disputes were resolved with guns rather than words. Eventually, the government had to act. The behavior of the Karamojong led to escalating conflict with Kenya and Sudan. Government efforts initially met with heavy resistance, but the Karamojong eventually agreed to surrender their weapons.
It was a good decision to take the guns away.
It was a good decision to remove the guns away.
Yeah.
Though it was bad to some, because that's what used to give them some survival. But the problem was we lost so many people. The only riches we have is always animals. We don't have riches on cars, money. Because when we have animals, if animals survive, that's when you find our families get food. So when animals are not there, we cannot survive. Paying our wives is very hard. This is what we use. We pay dowry. We use animals. We pay school fees, animals. So that we keep going on with animals. You know, nowadays, the numbers of animals are reducing. Before the government had brought the thing of disarmament, we used to have too much animals. Though you lose one, but you can still go and steal. But nowadays, the government has disarmed the people, so it is very hard to go and raid. Even raiding used to risk.
According to a Karamojong saying, he who has not stolen a cow is not a man. Naturally, this approach is a source of conflict with the neighbors. However, it is important to understand that according to the Karamojong belief system, the gods gave them all the earth's cattle. Stealing cows is therefore simply a means of returning them to their rightful owners, at least as far as the Karamojong are concerned. Cattle are central to life here. The Karamojong territory is sparse and inhospitable. As a result, there is little economic interest in the region, and the people who live here remain largely unaffected by developments at the heart of the country. The traditional Karamojong villages are a snapshot of human history. The old huts and stockades, designed to keep animals and people in and enemies out, have ceased to exist almost everywhere else. The Karamojong preserved their traditional culture for a long time, remaining resistant to change. Just 50 years ago, most of the people here did not wear clothes. Idi Amin used violence to suppress the old traditions, forcing the Karamojong to adopt Western-style clothing and to assimilate. Now, Western clothes have become common throughout the villages, and other traditional idiosyncrasies are vanishing as globalization encroaches. And yet the people here still predominantly live off their animals, as well as some crop farming and fishing. Despite the constant shortages, hospitality is extremely important to the Karamojong. This deceptively simple life nonetheless requires hard work from every member of the community, day or night. The society has its own laws, which are strictly obeyed. Their traditions are often misunderstood, but they have ensured the survival of the people for centuries. Rituals are observed carefully. Every part of a sacred cow has a clearly defined purpose to prevent wastage, and every member of the Karamojong observes these rites. Another unusual aspect of Karamojong life revolves around matrimony. The suitor, whether he is a Karamojong or not, has to wrestle his intended wife to the ground. If he fails, he is not considered a man and is forced to look for a wife outside the community. However, there are similarities between the Karamojong and other African cultures. Ritual jumping dances are a part of life, as is animism. Recently, efforts have increased to officially recognize the Karamojong as an independent culture within Uganda. The villagers tell us that as part of these efforts, there are plans to establish a new kingdom in Uganda's northeast. The meeting of the local chieftains is to take place at the large animal market closer to the border. In a few days, Karamojong dignitaries from the surrounding areas will congregate here. We arrive early to ensure that we don't miss this momentous event. Here, the influences of modern life are more evident. There are garages, bicycles, and brick houses. There is also a traditional hat maker who produces the distinctive, world-renowned Karamojong headwear. These hats are usually only found behind glass in the world's great museums.
Can you tell me a little bit about the materials? What is this material? This. What is this material? Yes, what is it?
It is the hair that they cut from the people when they shave people's hair.
This people's hair?
Yeah.
But how does he fix it? How does he make the carcass, the form?
It's quite complicated and it takes a long time to finish. First you take the measurements, then you begin to weave. There is no hurry.
And how long he needs to produce one of those headdresses?
It takes me about a week to finish one hat.
This is for elders? Ah, this is nice. But it's an old one, right?
Yes.
But this is very nice. And here, and here you can put in the feathers.
Young men must be given permission to wear ostrich feathers by the elders.
I can understand when the people, they dance, it's made like this. Yeah? But this looks like a bird who's just searching a wife or something like this. Is this the reason why this is made in a way like this? Are you imitating birds?
Men attach feathers to their headgear to demonstrate that they are ready to bring home a woman and that they hope to marry her.
Finally, the moment arrives, and the large animal market is opened. Many Karamojong have arrived to present their best cattle. If one considers the significance of cows in local culture, it is not surprising that this place has been chosen for the birth of a new kingdom. We've come to an agreement with a guide who will ensure that we will be present when the Karamojong chieftains make their deliberations.
Yes, amazing. So this is a place where the elders meet usually?
Yeah, usually when we have some meeting outside, our shrine is this one.
Very nice. It still has these old hairdresses.
Following the traditional welcome, the leaders do begin to debate the issue of a new kingdom. But we are unable to follow the arguments.
Who was the king between Lokuta and Lakuda before the white people came?
Was there a king after Lokuta?
Lokuta was the king, and Lakuda was made king by the whites.
Who is now king of the Karamojong?
There is no king in Karamoja.
There are only us, the elders. We represent the shrine.
As I am the oldest here,
to me, you are the king in Dodoth. You are something like the king.
as there is nobody older than me in Dodoth, I have elected myself king. 98 years old.
You can't become king here that easily.
I am still the main, Nakadanya.
Everything that was spoken here must be discussed at a meeting.
Although it is clearly more than just a rumor that the Karamojong are looking to establish a new kingdom, I doubt that the efforts will go much beyond such discussions in the near future. On the other hand, other kingdoms were probably born the same way. At least everybody agrees to take a joint photo. A photo of the potential future kings of Africa.
That's very nice.
In northeast Uganda, we experience the traditional ancient way of life. But the country is changing rapidly. The internet is spreading, increasing outside influences from the rest of the world. Almost every third Ugandan now has access to the internet, and even kings are embracing the modern ways. In Kampala, we meet a media producer with ties to the modern monarchs. He hopes to introduce us to one of them.
Hello.
Are you Gibson?
Yes, hello, Mr. Alfred.
Nice
Mr.
to meet
Alfred
you.
greeting. Welcome to Uganda. So it's interesting. So whilst we're growing up in this generation, we're seeing it all happen, and we're trying to run the kingdoms our way, like new generation, not old generation. So you'll see the King of Busoga, very flexible young man. We hang out with him. He's on social media. He tweets. He has Instagram. You know, so very flexible. He's still our king. So we go out and party with him in Jinja. I have a nightclub in Jinja in his kingdom. So he comes there, we have some good time. He has a radio station, he has a TV station. Very urban young king, and I think he's the right guy for you to meet.
Before we meet the King of Busoga, we were invited to visit his palace. It has only recently been renovated. The concept of monarchs was reintroduced into the constitution by President Museveni in 1995 in an effort to integrate the archaic power structures into the systems of state. The powers of the old leaders are clearly defined.
The government is doing...
Their main purpose is to increase social cohesion among the different ethnic groups and establish a common cultural identity that could be promoted primarily through education.
Wow, this is nice. Yeah.
This is to prevent conflicts and ideas of secession within Uganda's borders. It doesn't always work. In 2009, there were violent street clashes after the king of the neighboring Buganda kingdom, which includes Kampala, suddenly made political demands. Museveni soon put an end to the protests.
But the palace was always for the king.
The palace was always for the king.
Was also
the original
built
plan was
also
for the Chabazinga. So it was unfortunate because from 67 to 96, we didn't have kingship.
But the building was made for the Chabazinga.
Yes. That's when all the 10 chiefs sat and agreed and made the constitution that let one of us be the king, and not all of us having this small kingdom fragmented into 10, 11 chiefdoms.
But where does the king live?
Yes, the king lives in Kamuli.
In Kamuli is where?
Kamuli is his chiefdom.
It's his, yes. It's his chiefdom, right?
It's his chiefdom.
Yes,
So
it's his chiefdom. He has an own chiefdom, but he's also the king.
He is also the king.
Of all chiefdoms.
So when they were electing,
yes.
there were 10 chiefs.
Yes.
Then he got 9 votes. And so he's the king. And today, we are hopeful that the king will come here.
Yes.
William Kahambula Gabula Nadiopa IV was crowned the new Yabazinga on September the 13th, 2014. Originally the son of the well-respected King Henry Wakamoloki, who had ruled since 1996, was to ascend to the throne. Gabula Nadiopa IV challenged the decision and emerged from the subsequent snap election victorious. The new king is well educated, having studied at university in Uganda. Following his coronation, he continued his education in Great Britain. This suggests that the king holds liberal views, an estimation that our guide confirms. Such views are still uncommon in Uganda. This could eventually lead to conflict with the conservative government in Kampala. Nadiopa IV's increasing authority is tolerated for now. However, for as long as power is held by the older generations, a king must remain loyal in order to survive. Before we meet the Yabazinga, we are welcomed by one of his trusted associates, a businessman and member of parliament who praises the positive aspects of Uganda.
The potential is huge, especially in tourism, because we have a lot of history, a lot of art, a lot of old historical monuments, and also we have a lot of attachment to River Nile, because the longest river, it starts from our kingdom.
The King of Busoga eventually appears. He has chosen traditional clothing for the photo shoot.
Your Highness.
Alfred Weidinger prepares to capture the image of this modern monarch.
Hello. It's nice to meet you. Alfred, you can introduce the team to the...
Okay, you can stand here, please. Exactly, this is the position. So we have a reflector, we'll make a brighter light in the face. It's good, as it is. Very nice. So behind it's not sharp, but the sharpness is in your eyes. It's very good. As much light as possible in the face, please. Wow, very nice. Really like it.
First and foremost, it is preserving the culture vis-a-vis modernity. Given the current trend that we're in the 21st century, we have to balance within the culture setting, which is the traditional one, with the modernity, because at the end of the day, we need development. So my work is to preserve the culture in order not to lose the memories vis-a-vis modernity. So I have to endeavor that the people from my kingdom are united in order to score in one goal. And at the same time, they work hand in hand with other kingdoms and other people living within Uganda. Together we stand, divided we fall. Yes.
The Yabazinga very deliberately follows the official government position, limiting himself to the accepted interpretation of his role, at least in public. But what if a king's power isn't limited? An answer to this question may be found in Swaziland, in southern Africa. The small kingdom lies on the border between South Africa and Mozambique. It is economically dependent on South Africa, as most of the country's trade is conducted with its much larger neighbor. The country's inhabitants are held back by an unstable economy, old technology, drought, and irregular supplies. Depending on the source, unemployment is between 28 and 40%. 63% of the country's population lives below the poverty line. King Mswati III celebrates his 50th birthday and decides to give himself a gift. Swaziland is to be renamed Eswatini. This name change provides an easy way for the king to write himself into the history books. But it will cost the country a lot of money, as will the elaborate celebrations of the event. Officially, there is a different explanation for both. Mswati was born in 1968, the year the country gained independence from Great Britain. We have announced the arrival of our film team and are met by a public relations advisor who will tell us more about Eswatini.
We are actually expecting more to happen here tomorrow. We're expecting many people from all over the country, some from outside the country, to come and see what Swazis will be celebrating tomorrow.
The preparations have taken a year. The kingdom hopes to portray youthfulness, strength, diversity, and unity under the leadership of its monarch.
They are one united nation. They don't like to fight. They don't quarrel. We are one. We are united. Maybe it's because we are just one clan and we report to one king. We don't have parties. We are just under a kingdom.
The PR advisor's claims are not entirely true. In the 1990s, Mswati III was forced to make concessions after workers and students protested, demanding greater democracy. A constitution was introduced in 2006, but the document lacked a clear definition of what provided a party with legitimacy, and the process came to an abrupt end.
Swaziland, it's a place where political parties are banned. So if you want to form another party, or in your own country, you have a number of political parties that are formed. Yeah, they're banned. They are unable to exist, and then they are outlawed. So every act of a political party, so even meeting as a membership of a party, is an outlawed. It's an illegal act. And if you are found, you are charged with treason. And treason goes with life sentences, nothing less than 10 years.
With the king, it is true, he cannot be all over the country by himself. Like in the rural areas, we do have tinghundla. We have took the government back to the people so that the king will be able to hear the people's needs in the rural areas. So we use the tinghundlas. Because in the rural areas, he's got chiefs whom he uses as his eyes and ears. They report directly to the king whensoever the nation or whensoever his people, they've got complaints. Then they are the one to address the complaints.
Our hosts hope to show us how effective the local system is and invite us to visit a village near the capital city, Mbabane. A village meeting is in progress. Everything has been orchestrated to show us how well the process works. The chief is on hand. We are not told how often such gatherings take place.
I am Chief Prince Mkapsani, Chief of the area where we are now. I am the king's eyes, ears, and everything that concerns the people. I report to the king.
The chief awards land that belongs to the king to the local farmers to build on. Farming is the main source of income since the country's large mines have closed down.
When we, especially in Europe, when we read about Swaziland or Eswatini, we read that it's a very, very poor country. But I don't have the feeling that it's really very, very poor.
It differs from how people see it. But you can attest to that. You have seen the people here are not that very poor.
Then it is time for business. The chief begins to give a speech to the villagers who have congregated.
Namhlanje ngikhanwe kutonivusela. Bengisike bantu batawu babulala inyoka la. Sengibukile ke sekungemalanga bekunene akusiko lokukahle lokho lokwentekako.
The listeners remain silent. Somehow, it all feels very staged. We attempt to find out how the people who are to participate in the 50th anniversary celebrations feel about them. A young woman from the chief's chiefdom is selected, and we are invited to visit her. Across the world, women and children are often the greatest victims of exploitation. In poorer regions in particular, they are largely unable to defend themselves. According to a UNICEF report, 1/3 of Swaziland's women have experienced sexual violence before their 18th birthday.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine.
Yeah, very well, thank you. What is your name?
Tulile Dlamini.
I see. So you have been there?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What did you do there?
I was dancing culture dance.
Really?
Yes.
Which type of dance?
I dance in Gadla.
So everyone is proud to be part of the girl groups, right?
Yeah, it's proud. And we love it. And we love our king. So then we have to participate in it.
The great event is to take place the following day. The young woman's family will be in attendance. There is little doubt that she feels truly honored to be participating in the celebrations. Women in Swaziland have few opportunities in life. Most will spend their lives as farmers or as housewives. Although 90% of the country is Christian, polygamy is permitted. In reality, the high costs associated with getting married mean that it is rare, but it is nonetheless firmly enshrined in the law. The precarious economic situation is not the only problem Swaziland faces. The country also has a very high level of HIV infection. 26% of men, more than 1 in 4, carry the virus, as do 35% of the women aged between 15 and 49. We are brought back to Manzini in time for the 50th anniversary celebrations. Thousands make their way to the city for the event that took months to plan and weeks to choreograph. There are a few foreign dignitaries among the numerous guests, but none of any significance on the world stage. Some officers from the US Armed Forces settle in the stands alongside a few princes from the Arab states and representatives from neighboring countries, as well as normal citizens from Eswatini. The king enjoys presenting himself as a great military leader. This is more reminiscent of non-royal leaders from Africa's recent violent past. Swaziland is of little significance or importance internationally. This now no longer matters, as the country is about to become Eswatini. In fact, Swaziland was known as Eswatini before British colonial reign. However, the official explanation for today's name change is that people are unable to identify with a name that is half African, half English. In addition, according to Swaziland, the African country is frequently confused with Switzerland when it comes to international affairs. Nobody is prepared to point out the absurdity of this argument, and certainly not on the monarch's birthday. Mswati III's absolute power is maintained with a heavy hand. Anything an absolute monarch chooses to do is automatically legitimate, as it is God's will that this person be king or queen. Eswatini is the only country on the African continent in which this system is firmly enshrined. Mswati III has his own somewhat unusual understanding of his position. The anniversary celebrations draw to a close. Later, it will become clear that the purchase of a new fleet of limousines alone has surpassed the budget of $1.7 million allocated for the celebrations. Despite the massive cost overrun, the king is determined to keep celebrating. We are invited to join the party. The royal court, the international dignitaries, and Eswatini's high society will take advantage of the festivities to network, while the country's population is excluded. The guests here all have titles, money, or power, or all three.
But anyway, I'm from Mozambique in Gaza.
Yeah.
Province, I think the second biggest province in Mozambique. So, but now I stay in Mozambique full time, trying to build the economy there. Hard working all the way.
And since when do you know the king? The king of Zimbabwe?
I knew him from a distance. I met him personally last year. There is in Nwala is the ritual praying dance that they perform around December. So I came. I've been coming secretly. Yeah. I've been coming
because
secretly
of the king's daughter.
Yes, I'm trying to be.
The royal family appears, displaying its riches. It is the last opportunity Alfred Weidinger will have to capture a photo of the King of Eswatini before he returns to Europe.
I keep the camera at the ready, and finally he appears in front of me. He is the last official king of the African continent, and yet I can discover very little that is regal about him or the riches he surrounds himself with. While we watch the overblown fireworks, I think about the other, less powerful kings of Africa. The Hogans, the spiritual leaders of Mali, the Tuareg nobles of Niger, the chiefs of Sierra Leone. They all felt some responsibility for their subjects. I wonder whether this is not perhaps an essential characteristic for a true king.